Shalom from Israel to all of the Daystar viewers around the world. I'm Moshe Bar Tzvi, the producer and founder of Israel Now News. We at Israel Now News are dedicated to bringing you the full story and the truth about Israel from Israel. It's written in the Holy Bible when David said in Psalm 25:5, "Lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all the day long." And God says in Zechariah 8:16, "These are the things that you shall do. Speak out the truth to one another. Judge with truth and judgment to peace in your gates. And always search for the truth, and the truth shall set you free." John 8:31. I hope you enjoyed the program. God bless you from Jerusalem. Shalom, shalom.
Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, U.S. President Barack Obama has backed off a threatened veto after the Senate Foreign Relations Committee unanimously approved legislation giving Congress additional oversight on any nuclear deal with Iran. The measure received bipartisan support from the 10 Republicans and 9 Democrats on the panel. The bill now goes to the full Senate, where it is expected to easily pass. In other news, Russia has announced the sale of advanced weapons to Iran. Moscow is preparing to transfer sophisticated anti-aircraft missiles to the rogue Islamic Republic, despite objections from the international community. Israeli officials blame the U.S.-brokered nuclear agreement with Tehran, saying Iran's purchase of the missiles demonstrates that the deal has failed. Israel's Minister of Intelligence, Yuval Steinitz, said Iran continues to disregard article after article of the agreement. This as the West has already begun easing sanctions, paving the way for the transfer of the latest weapons from Russia. He said the missile deal is proof that Iran will enjoy an economic surge in the wake of the removal of sanctions, which it will use for arming itself and not for the benefit of the Iranian people.
Even though President Obama persists in trying to broker a nuclear deal with Iran, American lawmakers continue to insist that sanctions against the Islamic Republic be kept in place. Dozens of bipartisan representatives from individual states are demanding that the punitive measures be enforced as long as Tehran remains a major sponsor of worldwide terrorism. Congressional legislators from Kansas and Mississippi are even said to be considering the imposition of additional sanctions against the intransigent Shiite nation, which many fear is racing toward the production of nuclear weapons. Iranian leaders have repeatedly threatened to wipe Israel off the map, and there is widespread concern that if the country is able to obtain an atomic bomb, they will try to do just that. In fact, a new feature film is in production right now in Iran that glorifies the destruction of the Jewish state. Yochanan has more on that.
Yes, Aaron, Iran has already begun celebrating its success in fooling the global community by making a bad nuclear deal with U.S. President Obama. And last week, the hardline Islamic Republic announced that it will be producing a major feature film depicting the destruction of Israel. According to Commentary magazine, the movie, entitled Commander, is based on the life of Qassam Soleimani, the commander of the Al-Quds force, and his strategic approach to destroying the Jewish state.
In other news, more than 120 children have been abducted and they are being held by the Islamic State in Iraq. According to reports, all of the captured children are under the age of 15. In the past, the radical extremists have forced boys into training as fighters on behalf of their Islamist cause, while the little girls are sold off on the black market as sex slaves or forced to become the child brides of the terrorists.
2 Israeli soldiers were stabbed by a Palestinian terrorist during the Passover holiday. The 29-year-old Palestinian man screamed, "Allah is great," as he stabbed one soldier in the neck and the other several times in the back. One of the injured soldiers managed to shoot and kill the terrorist. Both IDF soldiers are recovering from their wounds.
Israeli Defense Forces have seized another shipment of high-tech military equipment en route to the Gaza Strip. We recently informed our viewers that Iran is heavily funding the rearmament of the Hamas terrorist regime that controls the territory. And just days after our latest report, Israeli authorities announced that they again intercepted truckloads of sophisticated goods as they were illegally being smuggled into the Strip. Contraband included infrared cameras, communications devices, and remote-controlled security cameras. According to Defense Ministry officials, more than 100 attempted shipments of this sort have been foiled since the start of this year.
The Islamic State has taken control of the largest Palestinian refugee camp in Syria. Since the start of the Syrian civil war, forces loyal to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad have ruthlessly attacked the Yarmouk camp, reducing the population from over 150,000 residents to less than 18,000. Those who remain are now captives of Islamic State terrorists. The UN says it has not been able to deliver food since the beginning of April and is demanding humanitarian access to ensure the protection of civilians in the camp.
Spanish authorities arrested 7 Muslims for plotting a terror attack on a Jewish bookstore in Barcelona. A statement released by the country's anti-terrorism task force revealed that the suspects were in possession of grenades, knives, shotguns, ammunition, and chemicals used for bomb making. The latest development comes as part of a major crackdown on Islamic terrorism in Spain, where this year alone, authorities have arrested more than 40 people for suspected involvement in radical Islamist activities.
Egypt has announced that it will enforce a life sentence in prison for anyone caught digging or using cross-border tunnels. Due to its proximity to the Gaza Strip, Egypt has had numerous problems with Palestinian terrorists digging tunnels for smuggling weapons, contraband, and even terrorists from the Sinai into Gaza and vice versa. Cairo recently declared Hamas a terrorist organization for its alliance with the Muslim Brotherhood, a group that Egypt has been working to eradicate. Egyptian security forces have destroyed dozens of Palestinian homes near the border with Gaza in order to create a barrier trench between the Hamas-run enclave and the Sinai. Last summer, Israel uncovered an intricate network of terror tunnels that stretched from Gaza to the communities in southern Israel. Hamas terrorists were planning to use these underground passageways to launch a series of attacks in the Jewish state.
An Israeli archaeologist has unearthed an exceptional find in the Jewish capital of Jerusalem. During his excavation of an abandoned Ottoman prison, Amit Re'em uncovered a treasure trove of artifacts that date back at least 2,700 years. Re'em says that layers from nearly every era of Israel's history were discovered, literally, one on top of the other, beginning with the time of the First Temple, spanning the Roman, Crusader, and Ottoman periods, up to the modern refounding of the nation in 1948. Of particular interest is Re'em's assertion that he's located the site of Jesus' trial by Roman leader Pontius Pilate. The newly excavated room lies on the Via Dolorosa route taken by Jesus through the Old City to his crucifixion. The Tower of David Museum is now investing in the neighboring location with the installation of a remarkable glass ceiling that enables visitors to take their own glimpses at thousands of years of Jewish history.
Last week, the entire nation of Israel literally stood still as sirens sounded, marking the start of Holocaust Remembrance Day. This day has been reserved to mourn the slaughter of more than 6 million Jews who were systematically rounded up and murdered by the Nazi regime as the world stood by quietly. Yom HaShoah is traditionally marked by lighting a memorial candle for the victims and reciting the mourner's prayer for all those murdered. Yad Vashem, Israel's Holocaust Museum, hosted a special exhibit highlighting the struggle of more than 1.5 million children killed in the Holocaust. The display, entitled Stars Without a Heaven, presents the stories of these child victims through poetry and illustrations, as well as the world's largest collection of Holocaust-era dolls and teddy bears. On the eve of Yom HaShoah, a somber statistic was released by the Foundation for the Benefit of Holocaust Survivors, which reveals that more and more Israelis believe another Holocaust is possible. According to the poll, 46% of Israelis and 47% of Holocaust survivors believe that Jews can again be targeted for mass murder. Experts attribute this to the rise of anti-Semitism throughout Europe and the looming nuclear threat that Iran poses to the Jewish state.
Sirens will sound throughout Israel again this Wednesday as the nation collectively mourns its fallen soldiers and the victims of terror attacks. Services for the Yom HaZikaron Memorial Day services begin with a 1-minute siren that rings out as all citizens stand in silence to commemorate those who have paid the ultimate price for our freedom. Solemn ceremonies will be held across the country throughout the day as everyone in the state of Israel observes the National Day of Mourning for those lost.
One day after marking the pain that our nation has endured, the State of Israel will celebrate its independence. As the sun sets on Yom HaZikaron, Israelis will light their barbecue grills and celebrate 67 years of an independent Jewish state in their historic homeland. On the 5th of the Hebrew month of Iyar, May 14, 1948, after 2,000 years of exile, the Jewish people were restored to the land that God promised them. Just as the prophet Ezekiel said, "I will take you out of the nations. I will gather you from all the countries and bring you back to your land." The State of Israel is a modern miracle and a fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Children once again play in the streets of Jerusalem, as Zechariah prophesied. And just as Isaiah said, God has made the barren deserts of Israel bloom. We at Israel Now News would like to wish all of our viewers a happy Israeli Independence Day.
Chag Atzmaut Sameach. That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein, and we're here in a beautiful day in Jerusalem on our rooftop studio. My guest today is Nitzana Darshan-Leitner from the Shurat Adin organization. Nitzana, thank you for being on the show.
Glad to be here.
Landmark victory in New York City. I think it was $655 million that the PA is now responsible for paying to terror victims. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about it?
Well, yeah, this is a lawsuit that was filed back then in 2004 on behalf of 10 families of terror victims that got killed or injured during the Intifada. And we asked the court to find the Palestine Authority and the PLO responsible for this suicide bombings, the terror attacks that family got injured. And after 11 years, the case went to trial before a jury, took a month and a half. Jury came down with a decision, found the PA and the PLO guilty, responsible for these attacks.
You know, we're always hearing from the administration in America, at least, that Fatah and the PLO are the partners for peace. They're a peaceful organization. How does this change that kind of rhetoric?
In the eyes of the terror victims, they have never been partners for peace, or neither the PLO or the PA. We know that the PA and the PLO carried out the attacks during the Intifada and continue to support the terrorism until today. As a matter of fact, one of the factors before the jury was to consider whether the PA and the Palestine Authority still responsible to incite for terrorism and to encourage terrorism and to support terrorism. And they found them guilty on this count. They found that the Palestine Authority gives money to the prisoners, the terrorists, the one who drove the suicide bombers, the one that were involved with the terrorism. They gave them salary, they gave them money. Now, while they're sitting in the Israeli jails, they promote them in rank. They give compensations to the families of the suicide bombers, compensating them on a monthly basis. And this is one of the things that convinced the jury that the PA has to pay for supporting terrorism. So I don't know if they're our partner for peace.
You know, this was hailed as a landmark case. It was in international media all over the world. How is this going to affect future trials and future cases against the PA?
It was, as you said, a landmark decision. So we assume that a lot of courts are having similar cases against the Palestine Authority or the PLO will follow the spirit of the judgment. You know, it's a federal court decision. It does not obligate any other courts outside of the United States. But it can be a decision like to bring a light and to direct the other courts how you should look at the cases, what evidence you should look for, and what type of compensation you should grant. Because we have to remember, this is a major decision also in terms of the amount awarded. $655 million is a large amount of money, and it's given only in cases of terrorism. The American courts, the federal courts, and other courts follow this road. They want to distinguish the horrible aspect of terror attack, and they said, we are disgusted by it. We want to punish the terror organizations. We want to bring it to an end, and this is why we're imposing such high penalty. And other courts should just watch and learn.
You know, the PA has already rejected the ruling and are saying they're not even going to pay. How likely is it that you'll see even $1 from them after this judgment?
You know what, I've been saying it all day long, and even after we won the judgment, but we are going to pursue this judgment. We have liens on assets that belong to the Palestinian Authority in the United States and Israel. In Israel, they get tax money that Israel collects, which we can put a lien on, and we did already in the past. We are going to pursue every dollar until the end of the payment. We did it before, we will do it again. The PA have money to pay the prisoners, to pay the families of the terrorists, to pay those who carried out the attacks. They have money to pay this judgment.
You know, something that seems absurd to me is that not only by court is the PA a terrorist organization, but anyone who just has eyes to see can see that they're promoting terror and carrying out terror. But now they're threatening to take Israel, the only democracy in the Middle East, to the International Court of Justice. How absurd is that?
This is an absurd. This is an absurd, but unfortunately they have a good court to go to. The International Criminal Court already stated that they are waiting for the Palestinians to become members, and now when they become members, they can bring their cases in front of them. They want to go into the conflict between the Israeli and the Palestinians. They want to examine and investigate whether there were war crimes committed by Israel against the Palestinians, and maybe the opposite, although I didn't hear about the opposite yet. So in this sense, this judgment is a stone to go and show the court who are the real criminals during this conflict, that the Palestinian authorities and the PLO were the one who committed acts of terrorism, and terrorism is an international crime, and they should be indicted. And as a matter of fact, our organization, Shurat Adin, already filed lawsuits against the leaders of the Palestinian Authority for being responsible for the acts in the Intifada, in the International Court for War Crimes.
Nitzana, there are literally tens of millions of viewers watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
Support Israel. You have to support Israel. Israel today is in a critical situation. You know, the Obama administration is not the biggest ally so far for Israel, and they're already talking about canceling the veto that they usually impose in the votes in the Security Council. And we know that the Palestinian Authority's goal today is to become a state, not to negotiate for this position, but to go unilaterally, to go to the international institutes and to get their approval to become a state. One of their steps will be, as they did before, but they were denied so far, to go again to the Security Council in the UN to be recognized as a state. This is against the Oslo Accords. This is against all the peace agreements that Israel so far signed with the Palestinian Authority, and it has to be stopped. So what we need right now is a lot of allies, and I know that the viewers of this show have their heart in the right place to support us.
Thank you, Nitzana, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein, wishing you a happy Israeli Independence Day. Now back to the studio.
Up next, shining light from Israel.
March of the Living is a 2-week experience where teens from around the world gather in Poland over Yom HaShoah to bear witness to the atrocities of the Holocaust.
We go to the mass graves and the Warsaw Ghetto, really learning what our ancestors went through in Poland and getting the historical background prior to the Holocaust.
You know, to be able to see these places face to face, to feel it, to touch it, to understand it, these teens become the witnesses for future generations.
It doesn't matter if you're religious, if you're not religious, if you go to public school or if you go to day school. There's no other experience that a Jewish teenager can have that can match it. For me, it was a self-identification process where I could really learn about my heritage.
Our teens who participate on March of the Living take their experience and share it with the people around them. They speak at synagogues, they speak to adult groups, they speak to their teen peers and share what they learned and what they saw and what they felt.
Understanding and experiencing the tough history that we've gone through, how important that is for us as a religion, as a nation, as a people.
Which side are you on?
Which side are you on?
Which side are you on?
Are you for the side that believes in open debate, or the side which represses free speech?
The side that is a democracy, or the side which executes political opponents?
The side that takes pride in its diverse society, or the side which persecutes gays and religious minorities? The side that strives for gender equality, or the side which oppresses women and condones honor killings?
The side that protects its young people, or the side which uses its children as human shields?
Are you on the side that builds shelters for civilians, or the side which constructs bunkers for terrorists?
Are you for the side that goes out of its way to avoid harming innocent people?
Or the side which deliberately targets innocent civilians?
The side that invests in education, or the side which uses its money to fund terrorism?
The side that sanctifies life, or the side which worships death?
I know which side I'm on.
I know which side I'm on.
I know which side I'm on. And it's not the one of a repressive terrorist organization.
I'm for freedom.
I'm for democracy.
I am for Israel.
Please stay tuned for the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
In 1980, the Israeli parliament passed a law declaring a united Jerusalem as the eternal capital of the State of Israel. Threatened by the Arab League with an oil embargo, national embassies in Jerusalem closed their doors. That same year, Christians from around the world gathered in Jerusalem to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. Sensing the isolation of the Israeli people, the participants and leaders of this gathering decided to establish the International Christian Embassy in Jerusalem.
It's always important for us to remember that the Christian embassy was actually established out of the Feast of Tabernacles. And this is something which marvels me until today, to think that for now more than 30 years, Christians are coming from all over the world to celebrate with us a Jewish festival, Sukkot. Ray, what is your experience with that?
Just for me personally, it's such an amazing expression of unity of the body of Christ to see so many Christians from so many different backgrounds, from so many different faith origins, and they come to Jerusalem and everything is kind of put aside with just this heart and intent to number one, worship the Lord, but then also to want to be a blessing to this nation and an encouragement to this nation. I think it's a great opportunity for people to come, and it's a great season for people to come and visit Israel.
You are traveling all over the world. You know what it means to see churches all over the world supporting Israel.
Yeah, we not only have a mandate here in Israel, but we also have it in the nations.
Yes.
And in the nations, we serve the local body of Christ with our message. Jesus at the center, his character of covenant-keeping God highlighted in his dealings with Israel. And the Lord has been good to us. We've been able to touch the whole nations. We raised the global prayer on behalf of Israel, and we are acting as a bridge between the Gentile nations and Israel. And we do all this because we know that whoever blesses Israel shall be blessed.
Actually, to bless Israel practically, there's much more than just coming here as a visitor to this land. Nicole, what can people do in order to help Israel very practically?
Well, since Israel was established as a nation, you know that they've been very successful in a great many areas. However, there's still a lot of challenges that Israel faces today in the area of social needs. And it gives us an opportunity as Christians to reach out in a practical expression of love and support for this people and to say to Israel that she's not alone. We have the privilege and the opportunity to work with every sector of Israeli society, whether that's the Jewish, secular, Orthodox, Arabs, Druze, Bedouin, everyone in the whole society. We have the opportunity to work in every sector.
I like what 1 Corinthians 13 says, the love chapter, how it describes love as patient and kind. It also says that love rejoices in the truth. As Christians, we want to be out there, and we carry out our media publications initiative through many mediums. We have a daily news service where reports go out by email. We also post it on our website, www.icej.org. And we have a weekly radio program, Front Page Jerusalem, heard on about 100 Christian radio stations across North America, also around the world. We have weekly TV spots now on Daystar. We're going to be working with God TV on a weekly program called Word from Jerusalem. And our monthly magazine is also called Word from Jerusalem, which it gives you updates about our events, our activities, also current affairs, analysis, I think most important Bible teachings about Israel. And I think when you get to the core of it, we want to speak biblical truth to the church, to the nations about Israel.
You just had the privilege to meet our leadership team here in Jerusalem and to be part of one of our strategic meetings which take place every single week here. Here we strategize, we plan, we think about how we can bless Israel at the best. And I want to invite you personally today to partner with the International Christian Embassy here in Jerusalem. We are your embassy. We want to be there for you in order to convey your blessings and to convey your love to the Jewish people. Please stand with us, please pray for us, and prayerfully consider to support us financially. Thank you so much, and may the Lord bless you here out of Zion.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.